All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I wanted to go over some of the standout players in that final week of preseason, right? Because, I mean, man, there were so many good performances, so many impressive moments, so many great plays from so many different players, right? So, it's really exciting as a Jet fan, right? The season's right around the corner here. I cannot wait, right? But as far as this game is concerned, there's so many players to talk about. Let's start first and foremost with Leonard Taylor, somebody who was just, I mean, man, he was impressive in the pass rushing game, in the run stuffing game. He looked athletic, he looked smart, right? The defensive IQ was there. I mean, he was constantly in the backfield tonight, constantly in the backfield. Super impressive stuff from a UDFA who yes, there was a lot of hype there, but I mean, man, we're really seeing Leonard Taylor peak at like the perfect time, which is right before the 53-man roster comes out, which is going to be on Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So, you know, if you're a guy in Leonard Taylor, you got to like your chances at this point in time, right? I mean, you're essentially growing every single week, and you just capped off preseason with your best performance yet. He flashed for sure, right? He had 1 tackle for loss, 1.5 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and 4 total tackles. Great day for Leonard Taylor. Next up, Braiden McGregor, edge rusher, UDFA from Michigan. Somebody else who was just living in the backfield, right, constantly. He had 2 quote-unquote sacks for the day, but one of those, again, 2 sacks came off of 2 half sacks. So, I mean, the guy was just a animal. Just bull rushing tackles, just getting into the backfield. And the one thing I really like about McGregor, same thing with Takk McKinley, who we're going to talk about, they're just so aggressive, right? They could be falling away, but they'll stick their hand out there and just grab onto the quarterback and try to yank him down. Just really violent types of players. And, you know, if you're a defensive guy like Jeff Ulbrich or Robert Saleh, or, you know, if you're a fan of defensive football, you know, you love that trait in your edge rusher position. And to see a guy like this, right? Of course, tons of responsibility at Michigan, great player at Michigan, wins the national championship, but ultimately is undrafted. You know, you got something to prove. You got to go out there and prove, you know, why you should make this football team. He's had a great camp. He's been impressive literally since the beginning. And again, much like Leonard Taylor, capping off preseason with the most impressive performance that we've seen from him so far in an already impressive camp. So McGregor, awesome day. Next up, Takk McKinley here, 4 total tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits. Takk McKinley just, you know, at times looks really fast, just coming right out of the break. One of the biggest traits that you look for in 4-3 DNs is speed off the edge, right? How fast can you fly around a tackle? Again, you're not necessarily, that's the, you know, king trait, that the top trait that will just separate you from the rest of the pack. Of course not, right? A lot of guys have speed off the edge, but, you know, if you're talking about situational pass rushing moments, you're talking about potentially being a little thin at the position. We still don't know what's going on with Hassan Reddick. We allowed Bryce Huff to leave. We traded away John Franklin Myers. It's nice to have a guy in Takk McKinley, somebody who has a lot of talent, somebody who was a first-round pick, as we all know, somebody who has worked with Jeff Ulbrich before in the past, and somebody who's put together a really nice training camp. You know, it's nice to have a guy like that on the bottom of the roster. So let's just hypothetically say, right, we've seen so many injuries from this New York Jets squad over the past years. We have to kind of play in these negative hypotheticals to make sure that no stone is left unturned. What happens if Will McDonald gets hurt? What happens if Reddick doesn't show up? What happens if Jermaine Johnson has to miss a month? Right, we need to have depth at these positions, and so far, man, Takk McKinley he's been so fun to watch in preseason. But against the New York Giants, he looked like he was shot out of a cannon. So fun to watch. Next up, Izzy Abanikanda, right? This was the showcase game for Izzy. 9 carries in the first half, over 80 rushing yards with that long touchdown, right? And that touchdown was super impressive. Just talk about keeping your legs churning, not just falling down. Oh, I'm getting hit, let me just go down. Scared of contact, not in the slightest, right? Izzy, really impressive. He looked explosive. He looked fast. He could accelerate really quickly. And we knew that Izzy had these traits, of course, dating back and going all the way back to Pitt, right, where he was a kickoff specialist. So it was really cool to see in potentially Izzy's last chance in game action, of course, for him to make this 53. It's tough, right? I think what the main question is going to be are the New York Jets going to keep 4 running backs? It's not, is he good enough? I think we already have the answer there. I think it's just, we already have Brees, he's going to do his thing. We drafted Isaiah Davis. We drafted Braylon Allen. Do we have room? Do the Jets view that 4th running back slot on the roster as a necessity? Now, who knows? Maybe the Jets will only roll with 2 quarterbacks. And we say, okay, instead of, rolling with the traditional 3, something that the Jets did last season, we can now allocate this extra roster spot to Izzy at the running back position. Or could they do that with tackle, or maybe give it to another one of these edge rushers, right? There's so many different possibilities that you can do. Right? Do you want to keep an extra tackle because Moses and Tyron Smith are up there in age? There's a lot of different questions, and we're going to tackle them all on Monday. But as far as what this game showed, Izzy was impressive. I thought both young corners looked impressive, right? Trey Swilling and Stiggers. Both guys can tackle an open field. Really, really important stuff. Both guys did not look like young players. I mean young in almost like a bad sense, right? Where they're confused, they're like a deer in headlights, they're getting caught in quicksand, they're getting beat deep, they're not flipping their head around. They can't wrap up an open field. We didn't really see a lot of that stuff. Rookie mistakes. We don't really see that stuff with either player, especially against the New York Giants. And in the case of Stiggers, he's been impressive, again, since the beginning of camp. So, to just continue to stack bricks, to move in the right direction, not one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back, one step to the left, one to the right, back to the left, where you're in this constant, where you're just like staying afloat. It really seems like the cornerback position, DB as a whole, I mean, because you can point to numerous safeties that have been impressive throughout training camp and preseason. But corner, man, like, because the top 3, they're going to, those are the starters, Reed, Gardner, and Carter. But then behind them, it's, JBC, who's currently hurt. Again, Swilling, Stiggers. What's going to happen with Cordrington, right, at that nickel slot position? Are they going to keep him around? There's a lot of different... Brandon Eccles, right? He's another player. So the Jets are extremely deep at corner. And, again, my hat just goes off to all these players, right? It was really fun preseason. I believe the Jets actually went 3-0. And, I feel like I could speak for a lot of Jets fans, right? I'm excited for the start of the regular season. But, of course... although preseason is behind us, I don't want to just gloss over it and just, say, oh, it's what's done is done. We're looking forward to the 49ers. I really want to, make sure that limelight stays on some of these young players, because frankly, this has been one of the better preseasons that I've seen as a Jet fan. And it's not me just hyping it up to hype it up. Like, there's so many good, young, impressive players on this football team. It's sweet. It's really sweet. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.